What happens when the prison becomes the pulpit? When a 19-year-old sentenced to 25 to life trades a cell for a calling. Today on Landmark Stories, we sit down with Matthew MC Conant, a man who walked through 25 years behind bars and came out with fire, purpose, and freedom that only Jesus can give. He's a disciple maker, a husband, a teacher, and a living testimony of what radical redemption truly looks like. From pain to purpose, from chains to calling, this is a story you don't want to miss. Matthew, welcome to Landmark Stories.
Man, thank you for having me, John.
Excellent. Before we dive in,
Yes, sir.
I want to talk more about your childhood. Take me back before jail, before anything started to go sideways or spiraling out of control.
Right.
What do you remember of your childhood? Take me back to those moments.
Truthfully, it's kind of twofold. I never lacked for nothing. I was adopted at the age of 6 months by two loving parents. My dad was a doctor, mom was a nurse. We had a nice home. However, at age 4, they got divorced. My mom moved us from Ohio to California. And that transition, it went smooth in terms of the move. And we moved into a 5-bedroom house. It was, I had the latest and greatest toys. I don't have any complaints in that regard. So I always had love. My family was always my family, regardless of being adopted, But the flip side of that is that I moved into a white community and my family was white, my adopted family. And so, there was a troublesome years where kind of not being able to see a reflection of myself, anything mimetic of myself in my society. So, eventually I kind of lashed out and began searching for other things because I didn't know how to express that. So it was no lack of love, but a total loss of identity. You know what I mean?
So this is interesting what you're bringing up, because sometimes we hear a lot of the opposite, right? You grow up in an inner city. There's a lack of fathers, a lack of leadership at home.
Right.
There's struggle. You have no other choice,
right,
but to figure it out, right? When you're in those kind of situations. But you had the opposite. You had it all. You had a great way. You had great leadership at home, loving parents.
Yep.
But yet you felt like something was missing.
Yeah, totally.
Take me back to where you felt. What did a young Matthew start doing to try to find himself?
I realized, there's a saying, negative attention seeking. And I realized that the more that I did that, the more attention I'd get, the more the spotlight would be on me. And it didn't really matter what kind of attention it was, you know what I'm saying? As long as I was the topic, you know what I'm saying? And so I lashed out. I at small things from just being disrespectful to bigger things like hitting my 6th grade teacher, physically. And so I lashed out in those ways. And eventually I started to think that the fear that I had, because my peers my age were like, this dude crazy. And I attached that and considered that almost like respect or like a form of love, you know what I'm saying? Because people feared me and, so it led me down that road,
Understood. Yeah. You mentioned you were adopted, correct? Yeah. What's interesting is my mother-in-law did like 27 years foster care, and she ended up adopting a lot of young people. And so it's such an interesting and such a special calling, right? I mean, it takes a lot for someone to say, hey, you know what? No, we're going to take in those who need it the most, children who had absolutely nothing to do with whatever their parents did. Right. Yet we're going to give them a second chance of making sure they have all their necessities and what they need. So you spoke a little bit about adoption.
That does take a special person. Yeah, for sure.
It does. I like to call her. She don't like this. I call her the Black Mother Teresa.
Right. There you go.
She don't like me saying that, but she is. She's a blessing. She leads worship here at times, and there's always a whole gang of us. And most of those younger individuals actually all came from being adopted and foster care, which is a beautiful thing. How did those experiences shape the way you saw God before you ever met him? And I'm talking about the adoption and the possibly the word abandonment. It's a big word, but it's a real word when it comes to a young person, a young man, knowing that he did not have his original parents with him, or that something happened along the way.
Right.
How would you respond to that?
It's funny that you use the word abandonment, because it's something, if we proceed in this manner, that'll come up later. That came up much later in my life when I was going to the actual board of parole hearings to get out of prison. But at the time in my youth, it affected me drastically. I mean, looking in the mirror and wondering, like, who do I have? My daddy's eyes, my mama's nose, you know, those type of things was crucial. You know what I mean? In terms of really knowing who I was and having confidence, you know, in the relationships that I did have, whether it was with my mom, my brothers, and, you know, my local community. There was never a point that I didn't know of God. Like my mom brought it up, so I can't say that I didn't really know. But at a certain age, like 7, 8, 9, my mom was Catholic at the time, so she took us to CDC. You know what I mean? Okay. And it was just such a strict, for me.
Sure.
You know,
I get it.
It was oppressive almost. You know, like, I mean, little laugh in church, and it's like you in trouble, or like you. It was just too stern, and so it kind of. I was already heading down a rebellious road. I had a rebellious soul, you know what I mean? Because of, you know, what had happened to that point in my life, that it was just like another authority figure, man. And I know people have heard that a million times, but that's what it felt like. It was just another finger being pointed at me, and I was already in trouble. So it was like, you know, my mom's pointing at me, the teachers are pointing at me, this God that I don't really know is pointing at me, you know what I mean? And so it was like, pushed me away from all of them.
I think you're making an incredible point, because I think it speaks loudly to when it comes to how are we reaching our younger people, right? How are we reaching them from the pulpit? How are we reaching them in youth ministry settings? How are we reaching them in the streets? How are we reaching in general, right? Because all it takes is that first impression, right? I could take you guys out to lunch, dinner, and if we walk in somewhere and it's a bad, I'm never going back there.
Me neither. You know,
I'm not spending $1 again. Right. And so I feel when it comes to the youth ministry aspect of things, that first impression is also key. If you're too stern, too heavy, what are we doing? And if you're too loose, where are you leading? Right. Amen. So it's interesting.
And that, I mean, like I do a youth group, and part of the thing with me is remembering who I was then. And what I felt I needed. So I try to be what I felt I was missing at that time. And so that's been helpful. And then also, I just try to meet the kids where they're at. You know what I mean? We have to be on their level, you know.
Agreed.
We have to speak their lingo. I think a lot of the times with these kids, if they act up a certain way, we come to suppress that. No, be quiet, sit down, shut up. And there is times that we need them to be quiet, but there's also times that we have to recognize that in some of those outbursts or this activities that they have, there's gifts.
Sure.
And if given guidance,
Agreed.
That can become something that's really fruitful. So I just try to be mindful of that.
I love that. So you work with youth as we speak.
Yes.
And maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into that in a little bit, but I love that because that's something that we both share.
Right.
After surviving a horrible car accident at the age of 17, I was given a second chance to live, and I came back, got caught up in the streets, but then I couldn't no more. I needed to figure out why I was left alive, why I was given the second chance to live. And when I found my purpose in Christ, I went on an all-out mission to reach the community that I used to poison and where I used to cause trouble. And so it was an all-out blitz to reach young people aggressively, right?
Right.
So I can so relate to that, and I'm so happy to hear that this is what you're currently doing back at home.
Right.
Let me dive a little bit into now going back as we're heading into prison, right? You were sentenced to 20 to life at 19.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was.
That's big. That's a big hook point, right? When you hear it.
Right.
What was going through your mind in those early days of prison? And if you can just lead me into what led to that? What led to that sentencing?
Right. Well, what was going through my mind is, my life is over, and in hindsight, I can say I most definitely deserved it. A lot of the times when I'm giving my testimony, I talk about that. I talk about prison. I talk about what it was like going into prison, what I had to do to survive, and what it took to eventually get out, and what it was like meeting Christ in there and being set free inside on the inside until he set me free out here. But a lot of the times what's lost in that translation is that I took a life, man, that there was a life that was lost, you know? And oftentimes I don't really get to speak on it because the attention that I'm trying to give, or the message I'm trying to give, is more towards to somebody that might perpetrate the same crime that I did. So I'm more talking about what I went through, what I suffered, so you don't have to go through that, as opposed to if I was talking to a group of survivors, I should rather say.
Sure.
But yeah, but to answer the beginning part, it had to do with identity that led up to that murder, you know? And I feel like I didn't become a murderer that night. It was the culmination of a bunch of unchecked behaviors, you know, that kind of snowballed. Yeah. Because it wasn't just like, tonight I got a gun, let's go, boom.
Yeah, you don't just wake up saying, you know what, today I'm going to pull the trigger.
Right. It's it's the same, you know, you don't wake up and you just like a Christian that's eating meat, you know, it's the same process. So, but you know, on the bad side. But yeah, it just had eventually, kind of a long story, but I'll nip it down. Because of that identity crisis I had as a youngster, as soon as like gangster rap came out, as soon as blacks started moving down to my area from like LA, I naturally gravitated towards them because that's what I felt I was missing. Even though I know what I was missing was the identity of Christ, you know what I mean? But I didn't know it then. So I looked for people that were broken like me, that I could identify. We shared the same anger and hatred and, you know, all those ill features. So with that said, I gravitated towards them. And then I've always just been kind of competitive, if that's the right word. So even amongst my peer group, I would try to be the craziest, the illest, you know, the one that could fight the best, or, you know, whatever it was. So, you know, it was just this camaraderie that we had in our brokenness, where, you know, we had this male bravado where we would push each other into more brazen type. You know how it goes.
And then it's a mess.
Yeah.
Because then now you have a group, and then, you know, you get caught up or something's happening, you bump into another group. It gets pretty interesting fast.
It does.
I get it.
And that's what happened. I mean, there was you know, and it's crazy because, and I hope people that are watching this hear this. I mean, if we take a little time to talk, we're not so different. And 9 times out of 10, we could be friends, man. We're all looking for the same thing.
Agreed.
But we put these lines, these invisible lines up, and they crossed it, you know, in my head at the time. I mean, looking back, it's all frivolous, but they crossed it and did something to one of my homies. So we went out, you know, the following night, found them. We ended up fighting. Threats were made. The next night, we got the guns and went out, and really almost kind of was like looking for the trouble. We went to house party after house party after house party. Yeah, and
understood.
Never found them. And then at the end of the evening, we were leaving the last party, and one of the homies was like, "Man, I just saw them, man. They like right here on the corner house." I'm like, "Show me what house."
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
And spun the block and seen him right there at his house in his window, a tall youngster, and fired 3 shots, and I killed him. And, you know, we all got arrested, had a crimey that total went state, took him to the gun. Like it all went foul fast, you know?
Really fast.
Really fast. And
let me ask you more of a personal question. You don't have to answer this if you don't
can
feel
ask
comfortable
me, I'll answer
doing
anything.
it, because this isn't new. This has been happening for years and years. Right. You have a group of individuals who love each other or have some kind of love for each other, to do anything for each other. But when things get crazy, it's very fast for fingers to go pointing or for conversations 100%. To be had. And now all of a sudden, all the weight is on one individual and not on the whole group. Is this something that you experienced or
well, I mean, I totally experienced it in that moment. But like, if I'm honest, I wasn't what you would call a criminal. You know what I'm saying? I was a lost dude trying to be something I wasn't.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not minimizing my actions. I did what I did. But like, after getting arrested, after going to prison, after going through all these things, you know, by my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th year in prison, oh yeah, I was a criminal then. Like, I was about it. But I say that to come back to what you're talking about. With my group of guys, we were in over our heads. And he wasn't cut out for that. Like, I'm not even mad at him to this day. I forgave him while I was in prison.
Wow.
Because I put them in a position that I wasn't even ready to deal with.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And so,
the way you're saying
like,
that's a good point.
Like, we can't be mad if we put unqualified people, you know, not that I'm trying to promote good crime, you know what I'm saying? But if we put unqualified people in these positions, I mean, that's what's going to happen, you know? And so he did what he should have did, you know what I'm saying? He did what was in his heart, and that's who he was at the time. And I ain't even mad at it, bro. And the reason I can say that is really only God, because, I mean, like James 1 tells us, you know, count it all joy, and the perseverance of those things, it brings a character so that you lack nothing. Sure. And I know, had I not went through what I went through, and sadly I took a life, if I could take that part away, cool, because I'd love to give him his life back, because I know the value of life. But aside from that, what I went through, I love, you know, despite the long time it was, what those trials made of my life, and the character and the passion that it's given me out here, you know.
So good.
It's
so
priceless.
Good. I like to say that, you know, God often, you know, allows these big, great pains in our lives and uses them as launching pads to our greatest callings. We don't see it right then and there.
Well spoken. Yeah.
We don't see that in the midst of it.
Right.
But even looking back at all the pain that I've suffered, physical, mental, all that craziness from the trauma, from the car accident, all the years of darkness, all of that. But then coming out on the other side, like, you know, I literally would not be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
We wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be talking.
Facts.
We wouldn't be getting ready for an event on Friday. None of that would exist in my life if it wasn't for that valley that unfortunately I had to walk through. But I'm happy and still grateful for it.
Right.
I like to say I'm not thankful for the pain, but I'm thankful in the pain.
Right.
Right. And so it's a beautiful thing. Let's talk about prison. You're in prison now.
Right.
And now things got real. You're 19
Yeah,
going in?
when I went in,
You're still young. You're still...
Man, I thought I was grown, but, you know, I'm 52 now, and that's a baby, man.
Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts were not developed. My mind, like, I was irrational, bro. It was...
Walk me through, you know, that first time walking into the cell and that door closing. Can you take me back to those moments?
Yeah, no, I can. Man, we got off the bus. Check this out, man. So I get off the bus, and the sergeant, you know, you get off, and they give you a identification number. You know what I mean? And they usually just ask you the last two just to kind of speed up the process, you know. And he's like, "Hey, Conant, you know, 44." I'm like, "Nah, my number is 43." He's like, 44. I said, 43. And then he came in like close, and he said, "Nah, 44."
Okay.
And I used the 44 caliber.
Got it.
In my crime.
Got it.
And it hit me then, like he was talking about my case, and it let me know at that moment that, like, in prison, like, everybody knows everything. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, they gave me 2 bars of soap or whatever, a roll of toilet paper, pointed to a cell number, like, survive. You know what I'm saying? And I remember it vividly because I heard the stories, like, if there's something on your bunk, a candy bar, that, you know, the Hollywood stories that you hear. And they do happen sometimes, but that's not like protocol. You know what I mean?
Got it.
And so, but I just remember being scared, man, and just keeping that mask up, man, and, you know, kind of puffing my chest out. And, you know, I wasn't from nowhere. I wasn't a Crip. I wasn't a Blood. I wasn't from the Bay Area. I wasn't BGF, none of that stuff. So I didn't have homies that were going to come up and just lace me like, "All right, bro, come over here. Hey, this the homie. Woo, woo, woo." Nah, it was like yard release. I'm like, okay.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know which way to go. I didn't even know, like, where the blacks kicked it or where the Bloods kicked it, the Crips, the Mexicans, the others, you know. So it was all just like trial and error, man. And it was all trial and error. And it was just, it's weird because it was kind of a dope learning experience, if that makes sense. Not dope being in prison, but it was like, it was such a survival moment that everything was like top flight. Everything was at its peak. Everything was maxed out, like sensory overload. You know what I mean? And so it was vicious, man. Like, at the time there were no warning shots. So it's like, you get shot for a fist fight. Like, you get a little dispute over a handball game or something. Like, somebody could die, you know?
Got it.
So it was wild. But yeah, I hope that answers.
At any point, did you start moving, gravitating towards a group where you accept, I say this is always in the back of my mind at some point. If I was ever to walk through the doors of being in that situation, I know where I fit. I know my side. I know where I have to go.
Right.
So that's a very interesting, space to be in at 19.
Well, yeah.
Not knowing where to fit in.
Very true. I mean, off the top, the first thing they ask you is you black? What's your race?
Sure.
I'm black and white, but the whites obviously ain't gonna accept me.
They might
I'm
say,
black. So that was the first thing. You know what I'm saying? But what's weird about your question? You said, who did I gravitate towards? But for me, it was more, who did I ignore or like try to stay away from?
Got it.
And because of my thinking, I tried to stay away from the non-affiliates. The blacks that weren't from nowhere, the blacks that were just Christians, the blacks that were just inmates doing their time. Like, they were looked at as weak, vulnerable, oftentimes prey, because they weren't attached to a bigger conglomeration or whatever. So it was like, and in my mind, I was already resigned to die in prison. Like,
got it.
This was it. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, so much to the point we used to consider like us getting letters almost like flowers on our casket. Like, oh man, someone remembered me. You know what I mean? And so like I really attached myself to individuals at first. They would be Crips or Blood or Bay Area. But if I had a liking for you and you happen to be a Crip, then I mob with you, man. I would ride with you. Like, that's my boy. I wouldn't be involved in I don't know how I pulled it off, because I'm kind of an anomaly in that way, like in the California prison system, because yeah, man, I hung out with Crips on 1 yard. If I liked somebody and they was part of that, I wouldn't be into their functions. But if someone did something to my boy,
sure,
I'd jump in it. You know what I mean? And then the next yard I could be with a Blood, the next one a Bay Area. And it was a survival tactic for me. And it felt like something. I was still, to be honest, I was still chasing that identity, man. And I don't want to jump ahead, but because it kind of fits with this, man, my whole life, I was looking for something that I could see myself in. And because of my outlook, my lack of God, my lack of spirituality, the things that I could see myself in had the color, had the look of me, but didn't have the innards of who I was supposed to be. And so I ran with like that gangbanging type mentality, that thug life mentality. But it's weird because I ran from God for so long only to find a ministry like Hog Mob Ministries, which was what I needed like way back when.
Love it.
We did a retreat like a month or 2 or 3 ago, whatever it was, in Georgia. We went to Savannah over Hog Mob.
I heard about it.
Bro, it was active. Shout out to Hog Mob Zion for hosting it. But yeah, I kind of expressed that, amongst our group, that this is what I always needed, man. And it's so beautiful to have that now, having made all the errors that I made, all the people that I hurt outside of prison, in prison. But
no, I love this. And we'll get there for sure. You mentioned Hog Mob Ministry. Some people might have no idea what that is. I want to make sure we make that a highlight for sure.
Wait. They don't know Hog Mob? Come on, man.
I don't think so.
No, go ahead.
One of my goals, to be honest, is to do just that, right? I think it was about a year ago. I felt God really heavily impress on me to connect with Mel and to just serve.
It's good, dude.
Yo, Mel, what are you up to? What are you doing?
Right.
I'm interested in your story. I'm interested in just serving what you're doing and highlight that, right? And so that's what we've been doing for the past year or so, and we're letting God take shape. But I want to do that. I want to tell stories.
Right.
I want to highlight what God is doing in the lives of people,
Amen,
especially those who have gone through or are very, I want to say, branded to reach a certain type of people.
Right.
I'll tell you what, it's easy. It's easy to fill up a room in our churches and for our churches to look a certain way. It's not easy to go out. It's not easy to connect with those who need it the most. It's easy to get up and share a message, and it's clockwork. I'll be honest. I'll be the first one to say that. It's easy to get to that space when it comes to leading a church and doing all that.
Right.
It's a lot harder.
But that's that repetition and that's that religion.
That's that rep.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed. Since you mentioned Hog Mob, we're going to kind of, start diving through there. But when did faith become a thing? So you're in jail, you're 19, you don't affiliate, you're not a part of of a certain group, but you're friends and connected with individuals.
Right.
But when did this whole God thing, when did Jesus become a thing?
Man, it was about my 15th year. I was in the hole again. It was the last time I went to the hole for like something I did. It was like a minor assault on the police. It was kind of a frivolous.
You touched a cop. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so it was kind of a frivolous assault, man. But they put me in the hole, and this was, 15 years of in and out the hole, and like a total of 8 years of solitary confinement. Hitting Pelican Bay shoe and Corcoran shoe to Hatchby shoe when it was a shoe, the BMU program, like just in an indeterminate shoe, like just constantly going in and out.
So this went on for 15 years. Your first 15 years are pretty.
Oh, it was
pretty wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. Yeah. It was a bad show, man.
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm sitting in the cell, and I think there's always been a spirituality. Like even when you listen to gangster rappers, man, they'll talk murder, death,
they're
kill,
searching,
kill, but
they're seeking.
They'll mention God in the middle of their song, in the middle of all that chaos. And so it was kind of like he was hovering somewhere, but I don't see him on the yard, bro. I don't see him, in my cell. I don't see him in the day room when it's a 3-on-1 and dudes getting maxed out. So it's like I knew he was somewhere, but it's like I don't see him. And anyway, I'm sitting in the cell. And it's kind of a long story how it happened, because I wrote a letter to my mom, and she got at me, and she's like, here's money and food, money for food and stamps and all that. But bro, I don't know what else we can do. Man, my mom did a life sentence with me, and she was innocent. You know what I'm saying? She loved me, when somebody else didn't. Took me.
Let's touch on that, because that happens a lot. And those are, I want to say, not the forgottens, but we overlook the pain of a parent, mother, a father, or anyone who's walking with that individual who is doing that time. Wow. It's not their fault. Right. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
But yet they take a pretty
burden,
heavy burden
100%
of that decision.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? And what did your mom?
I was selfish. I took it all for granted. Like, it's just, you're supposed to be here. Like, I never really looked at the fact that what I did and splashed our family name on the headlines, or if the threat of them living under retaliation, like, bro, because I think back then how I thought, you killed my bro, I'm gonna smash on your family, bro.
Sure.
What's up?
Sure.
Yeah, it's tit for tat.
Right.
And praise God they didn't do that. But I didn't think about those things, the jeopardy I put them in, the cost, the coming to trial, taking off work and all, it's just, the list goes on. But you're so right. The burden that we place on them, but it happens like that because we have that me mentality. Like, there's a chapter in my book. It's like, it's only happening to me. I think I titled it that. And I really thought, like, everything that I'm going through, it's only happening to me. Despite I got a wife on the side here that has to go through, customs to come see me in the visiting room. You know what I'm saying? Despite the fact my mom has to drive, 10 hours to see me.
Wow.
So yeah, man, it's a trip.
And I guess I bring that up because I've crossed paths with a lot of young individuals who will hear, will be inspired by maybe some of the work that me and my team used to do very actively when it comes to reaching youth and just pointing them to God, just challenging them. Yo, you gotta stop, you gotta chill. What's going on with you? How can I pray for you? You hear what I'm saying? Just trying to let them know, like, hey, on this side, it's open. I got you. Whenever you're ready, I can't make you do something.
Right.
But you got my number. You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm about. I'm a phone call away.
Right.
But I would love for you to share maybe, what would you say to that young folk, that young individual who is locked in but is not thinking about the mom, the father, and the family?
Right. I mean, you got to find a purpose that's greater than yourself. You know what I'm saying? Everything can't be about you. It can't. I mean, it can, but you're not going to be very fruitful with that, I mean, and I think they see reflections of it when they played basketball, and there's the guy that will always shoot even though so-and-so's under the key and you could just dish it to him for a easy layup, but it's always about him.
Good point.
It's always about him. And youngster, that you don't like that. And so that, we can transfer that into the lifestyle that we live, you know what I mean? And really realize that you gain so much more when you're inclusive. You gain so much more when you consider others. you know? And it's a trip because you're going to end up in prison or something. Hopefully you don't. But then you're going to mind somebody. You're going to you're not going to play by your rules. You're going to get in and you're going to fit in, you know what I'm saying? And even in that, you're going to learn that you can't think on yourself. Because if I'm with a crew, a clique, and I don't pay my bill, that reflects on the whole car. And when somebody comes to get their bill from me, it's going to affect all these dudes behind me. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about you.
Right.
And so you're going to realize it one way or another sooner or later. And so why not realize it now and start taking the steps that it takes
so good
to become, you know, somebody that's inclusive, somebody that's loving and thoughtful and considerate, which those are all words that when we're in the streets are weak. It sounds soft when I say, oh, be considerate. It just sounds like it.
Yeah,
because of how we're trained, man. But, you know, the culture ain't supposed to make us. We're supposed to make the culture. So we have the ability to change
back.
it.
You can say that again. Rewind. Say that again.
The culture ain't supposed to make us. We're supposed to create the culture.
Excellent.
You
Love
know,
it.
so when something is off kilt, you know, we don't just fall in line, you know, and that's part of the things I try to teach my youth. That's part of what Hog Mob is about, just stepping outside of what the standard is of any industry or any hardline church that they're pushing. You said it yourself, man. We're supposed to be out there. We're supposed to be out there in the streets. You could come up in here and fill these seats all day long, right? With music and a quick sermon, and everybody get their little 30-minute fix, and they're gone.
They're off to lunch.
But yeah, so I mean, I think it's just, you got to find something worth living and dying for, you know, that's going to have meaning. And if I can, that kind of segues back into your question. So I'm sitting in the cell. It's like my 15th year. I'm on the assault with the police. My mom sent me the letter. She's, you know, like we visit you. We come see you. We send you money, we send you pictures, keep you updated on the family. And it's true, she did all that. And I don't know why, you know, and I knew all this.
Massive shout out to your mom.
Man,
and I'm serious, because I love when I hear that a parent, a family member, or just someone, even in the midst of all that, was still there and still giving, you know.
Never quit.
I don't think they don't get enough
she don't.
highlight.
She don't. And she passed 2 years after I got out.
Got it.
But she got to see. Thank you for that, and God bless you for that, man. She was a wonderful woman. But she did at least get to see this change inside and 2 years out.
Love it.
And she was really proud of me. So it's a beautiful thing.
That makes me smile, because my parents have had the chance to also boast on my change throughout the years. And so
so cool.
It's just
like all that trouble wasn't for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Johnny made it.
It's a beautiful feeling when they're able to, you know, get around family and they're saying, hey, Jonathan's doing so well. And they're seeing this and that. And
that's dope,
that's not what it's about, but it makes me feel really good that my parents feel good about their son who is no longer a certain way. Right.
That's dope.
So talk to me. So Jesus, so when does it flip? And how does Hog Mob start?
Oh, well, that's
well, let's go back to the
pretty
lights
big
coming
gap
on.
between that. Yeah. So I'll nutshell it. So I'm in the cell I'm in the hole in isolation by myself, and two things came up. A dude, when I was like 21, 22 or something, one OG, I was doing something wilding out. He said, hey man, one of these days the wall's going to crash in on you.
Oh, he checked you. He came up on you. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not receptive. I'm like, man, go on with that, and ignored him. And then another dude in a whole nother situation, he's like, hey youngster, if you died today, what proof would you have of your existence? Man, he don't go on with that philosophical stuff. I ain't trying to hear that. But what's crazy is here I am some 13, 14 years later, whatever it is, sitting in the cell, and I have this moment where like, I was just tired, bro.
Tired, yeah. Wow.
Like I was like, the repetitive cycle, whole, main line, whole, you know what I'm saying? And transfer it all up and down the state. So long story short, I keep saying that, it don't seem too short, but those two questions came into my head in that moment. I don't know how. Like it wasn't like OGs that I hung out with. It was just like
random people,
randomly, like boom.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, the brokenness and feeling tired. I felt like, oh, the walls just crashed on me. Like I'm actually tired of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then that second question was like, you know, what proof you have of your existence? And I metaphorically like looked back, and it was like, the assault I'm sitting in there for, the attempted murder I had on the police, the fights, the melees, the yard, the murder that got me in prison, the bottles over the head as a teenager and jumping people and home invasions and doing drugs and rehab and all these other. I mean, it just was a wave of destruction.
That was your
me.
existence.
Yeah. Wow. And so whatever it was, I was like 36 years old. So, I mean, the accumulation of all my yeses and nos, my friends, who I accepted, who I didn't, added up to that moment in the cell. Wow. And I was 36, standing in some boxers and some slippers. I had maybe a TV and some sweatsuits and a short in R&R because I was in the hole. I couldn't have it. And that was my possessions out of 36 years of what I was doing. Wow. And I was like, bro, you know what I'm saying? And that was it. And I came out the hole on that one, and I went to the.
So at that moment,
I needed something.
You recognized, or you prayed, or what was that?
No, I didn't even really pray.
Understood.
I just knew I needed to. I knew I needed God, but I didn't know what God.
You recognized and acknowledged that.
Yeah, what I did wasn't working, man.
Got it.
And it was like there was this thing where it's like I was athletic. I don't think I'm the finest dude. Regionally handsome, can make friends easy.
I was waiting for Mel to say something.
Yeah. Oh, he's probably texting it right now or something, But like genuinely a well-rounded dude, but I just did everything wrong, man. So I mean, eventually, I just knew. I knew what I needed was related to God, but I didn't know what God. You know, and being in California prison, everything is so institutionally race driven, you know, institutional racism. So when I came out, I'm like, I'm gonna go to church, man. And so naturally, most of the blacks were going to Muslim Islamic services, man. And I went up in there, and I think it's by our God's grace, the one and only true God, right? That when I walked in that moment, the imam or whatever they call it, he was like, man, the blue-eyed devil, he's got our foot on our neck, and he was on one. I was like, bro, they just as mad as me. This ain't gonna work. Like literally, like I felt that energy.
That first impression.
Yeah. Yep. And so I left, and then I signed up for Protestant church, and from there I didn't know it was fruits at the time, but I saw the fruits. It was an array of colors of Mexicans, blacks, whites, others. Hugs when I came in from total strangers, and bro, I ain't received no hugs in prison, man. You might get a handshake and an elbow or something, you know what I mean? But like a hug, and so it was just really cool. And then the word made sense, and that really kicked off. Love it. Getting to know Jesus Christ, man.
And so, how long were you there? And when do we start? There's obviously a book that you have written. You've mentioned Hog Mob Ministries, which I would love to dive in. Right. And tell me more. Like, talk to me about Hog Mob as if I've never heard of them or know what you guys do.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to hear your right. You're in church. You're learning. You're grasping. I will never forget the first time I walked through the doors of a church.
Come on, man.
And I hear someone speak about God, the God that I was looking for and searching for. Right. It just stuck. Something happened to me, right? I'll never forget looking over and seeing people worship for the first time. And I'm like, yo, I need that. I want that. I'll never forget seeing people cry, and I'm like, what's going on here, right? It created like this curiosity in me. And I'm seeking and searching, and I'm looking for who answered my prayer that evening where I was bleeding out in the backseat of a car.
That's deep, bro.
And so talk to me about you're at church, you're growing. What does ministry start looking like for Matthew?
For then, honestly, it was kind of selfish ministry at first.
Okay.
Because I didn't understand the body, but I just knew I was feeling the things that you just mentioned, man.
Right.
There was this like regenerating thing going on. Like, because I mean, I wasn't a miserable prisoner. Like, I had fun in all the chaos. Like, I had bonding moments with dudes I'll never forget.
You have to.
Yeah. It's like people at war. Like, you watch the Platoon movie, they got things dropping around them, but they still have this brotherhood and this banter going on, to keep their sanity. But so for me, it was more like, okay, how do I separate myself from this? Because remember, my problem was I was tired of this life I was living. But everybody that I knew was part of the same life. And so now I had to figure out how to change in an environment that ain't conducive with change, that ain't trying to change with me. And so these dudes that were with me at the time on that yard, because it was always a different group of dudes. Remember, it might be Crips on one yard, it might be Bloods on another. But I had to like, hey, you take this over here? No. And I had to go through that process of them being like, what
Love
you
that.
mean?
Love that. Yeah.
Like, nah, bro, I'm trying to go home, you know? And I didn't even believe I was coming home. But that was like the only thing I could say why I won't do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was just tired of it, bro. And so, you know, I didn't check out. I didn't go PC. I didn't hit no SMY yard. I stayed on a level 4 yard max yard, and I just worked through that. And slowly, to get to your point, the Spirit started leading me, man, and I became stronger in my nose and my convictions. And then I started feeling those convictions when it's like, nah, don't do that. That told you, no, don't do that. Hey, help that person. And he just grew me. And through that, sticking to that, I trained those that knew who I was or how I used to be, that, hey, bro, MC ain't the same MC no more. But I was still me. I'll still be like, what's up, fool? What's happening? Sure. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like, hello, good sir.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I didn't lose myself, but I lost myself. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah. Excellent.
And so
I love it. I love what you're saying. So much that we can go off of, but I want to respect time.
Yes, sir.
So
I'm gonna cut you off. Then let me get to it. So Hog Mob Ministries, for those that don't know, it's an acronym, HOGMOB. It stands for Hooked on God Ministry Over.
When did you guys cross paths? When did you hear?
I was out of prison. I was out of prison when I heard about Hog Mob. So, but I came home when the Lord opened the doors to the prison, because he set me free a long time ago inside. On my 25th year, 2017, I was released from prison, man. And I met Dante, who was part of Hog Mob. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I love Tay. Tay's he's awesome.
Yeah, Tay.
So let me back up just a little bit, because you said something really important that's here on these notes. You said Jesus didn't set you free from prison, but from within. And I'm guessing that's what you're referring to. Yeah. That you were already in there, and you've already had started this, what we would call sanctification, right?
Yes,
this walk of sanctification.
Yeah. It was 10 years from the time I met him in that cell that I just told you about to him working me out and me growing from a dude that was destructive on the yard to a dude that facilitated classes, worked in the chapel, helped people mock board hearings, to help even breaking some of the codes, like helping Mexicans, they like move their stuff up the stairs or something that I normally shouldn't do because of the color lines. Got it. But I was just at a point like where, you know, bro, I don't know. It's just like, you're going to do what you're going to do, but I'm going to be me. Yeah. And I just had faith in that, man. And again, the Spirit was leading you, right? Yeah. And 100%. This is what happens when we come in partnership with God. Right. Something very interesting, beautiful, supernatural happens that now that we've accepted Christ in our hearts, now there's a work happening. It's insane. There's a comforter. There's someone that leads us, right? The scripture mentions that 100%. When Jesus went into the desert, he didn't go in by himself. He was led in by the Holy Spirit. Amen. That same Holy Spirit that let him in was the same Holy Spirit that let him out. Come on. It's another story. But I love what you're saying in regards to the Holy Spirit now being involved in my life. Still in the mess. I'm still trying to figure it out. Right. And along the way, we start changing behaviors and things about ourselves. So you mentioned Hog Mob. Dante, I have an interesting memory with Dante, because we were in the Bronx not too long ago. I took my two little brothers and super dope. It was such a beautiful experience. And then Dante's like a funny guy. He's got like a little funny thing to him. And I'll never forget this. We're hanging out, and I'm like, Dante, great to meet you. Boom, this is my little brother. I'm trying to connect the dots to my little brothers, right? I want them to hear more of the God. I want them to experience this freedom that I've experienced to the fullest, to whatever that means for them personally, right? And I like that. He looked at all three of us like, oh, okay, I see y'all brothers. Yeah, you guys are all kind of ugly, so I can see why you guys are brothers. As I'll never forget that moment. We were looking at each other, we were cracking up. Right. But I love what God is doing in his life. And so it sounds like you guys cross paths. Man, a true blessing, man. Like you said, Dante is a very anointed man, you know what I'm saying? And a loving dude, man. Generous in all ways, spiritually, with his humor. He's not afraid to share that with you, obviously. Even his money if needed, you know what I'm saying? But so I met bro in San Diego. I paroled there, had a halfway house down there that I was going to. I met him. Within a year of meeting him, I was back into the prisons and coming in as a free man and giving the gospel and sharing the
all right.
story.
So hold on. Let's back up because now, so you're out, but you're going to a halfway house.
Yeah, I'm in a halfway house.
Explain more what that means for people who might not understand.
So a halfway house, it was mandated by my crime and the time that I did that they weren't just going to release me and like survive after 25 years. So it's kind of like a buffer, where you can kind of decompress from prison and go through, this transitional period for 6 months. And I didn't want to do it, but it ended up being a really good thing in hindsight. Like, I'm glad I went through it for me. And it might not work for everybody, but that's what the halfway house is. And my parole officer would come every month and see us and whatnot. But I met Dante, and he was and still has the West Siders. West is an acronym for Win, Equip, and Send to the Trenches.
Got it.
And so I was part of that. He put me, and let me in his ministry, and he taught me, groomed me,
beautiful,
mentored me.
Love it. So now we're talking discipleship.
Yeah, he discipled me 100%. And he was under the Hog Mob umbrella. And Hog Mob is a urban discipleship, fellowship, men's ministry that focuses on people just like that, me or Prince Infinite, Melvin Negron, who came out of prison or came from those dark places. Hog Mob is full of ex-pimps, bloods, crips, killers, drug dealers, like the worst of the worst. But we also have businessmen. We also have police in our ministry. But our focus is drawing attention to the dark places that most churches, well, I don't even want to attack churches, but where we're called to go.
Called to go, yeah, because I think at times the churches have a heart for it, right? They just don't know how to do it, or they might not have the right people in their ministries to properly connect the dots.
Well, I mean, I said I didn't want to attack the church, but I guess it's not attacking it. It's the truth. I mean,
love it.
If we sit here and say that we're preachers and that we follow the Bible and we understand the Bible and we speak English or whatever Bible you're reading for that matter, whatever language, my point is that it specifically tells us to go. It doesn't say nothing about sitting here and just talk to each other, look good, pray, jump around, be in your emotions and try to make it through the rest of the week. So there's really no excuse for any church, period. So let's just, let's not cut corners, man.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's what I love about Hog Mob. Like, I mean, I go to church faithfully to my church. I go to Vine Life Family Church in Ark City, and I love my pastor. But every week he gives me something, I'm out and doing a men's Bible study
somewhere else,
at my house,
as we should.
The youth group the following day, and then in my interactions in my city
daily.
It's not a bragging point when I say that, but I'm saying if I can do it, you can do it. That's what we're called to do, And so I'm glad you brought this up, because church, there's a real neglect going on, and it's sad.
But Matt, I'm going to play the other side, but it's scary, right? So let's say I'm not.
You know what's more scary? Seeing God and Him saying it's not well done, bro.
I hear you. Understood.
And so that's why I say your fear. I mean, is it faith over fear, or is it fear over faith? I mean, which one you rocking with?
Excellent.
You know what I'm saying? And I get your devil advocate, situation.
I'm trying to play the other side, because obviously, let's say you have the family who is not used to your urban environment,
but they don't have to do the urban environment.
Who keep their kids far from our neighborhoods, who need, the attention.
But they don't. But that's the thing. They don't. I don't expect somebody in a suit and tie to walk down into 60 neighborhood, rolling 60s neighborhood and say something.
Right.
I get that. But where are you at? Because the suburbs need it just as bad as the ghetto need it, homie.
Excellent.
And so that's why I'm saying, like, fear, like, everybody's not called to be in a ghetto or a prison. You know what I'm saying? Sev got a song he just did. He's like, he said something like, stay in the lane that you've been assigned.
Love it.
Like, I don't expect, a basketball player to have a good stroke on the back nine. That's not what he does. And so, like, I just think it's important. I'm really glad you read. You know what?
I love this.
What we're talking about right now is more important than any part of my testimony. The book we talking about.
I'm with you.
Like, if this is the greatest thing that come out of this, this is it, because he's coming, bro.
Yeah.
He's coming back. And we all are on borrowed time. I don't know when it is. It feel like it's super close. I'm sure every generation has said that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
They've had signs and things, but it feels closer than ever in this generation. And so, I mean, if we're not out here sharing the gospel and really letting people know. I mean, you don't have to be the biggest ministry. You can minister just at work to Sally at the lunchroom.
Yep.
Tell her what you learned in church during the week.
Agreed.
But if you're not even telling Sally at lunch break and you're keeping everything you learned in church, you're not an active member, bro.
I like to say this, that if no one knows that you are a follower of Christ in your workplace,
right,
in the wherever you interact with people outside of the walls of your church,
come on,
there's a problem.
There is.
Maybe it's not. Maybe you're on the journey or learning, but if you're years into it, if you consistently are going to church or raising your family, but no one at work knows that there's a very thick line that says no. Oh yeah, no, that dude's a Christian, or that dude's the Bible guy. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah,
or that guy's spiritual, whatever they want to point him. I think there's some self-reflection that needs to happen. There's some repentance that need to happen in regards to, like, all right, well, what am I doing? Where am I called to? What should I be doing?
When I was a troublemaker, like, I didn't have to say, hey guys, hey, I'm a troublemaker. They knew, because they could see it in the fruits. They could see it in my actions.
Yeah,
they could see it in the reputation, the talk that they heard. So on the flip side, what you said is 100% accurate, bro.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah,
love it. So you meet. I love that segue too. I mean, love it. Love the way we're going with this conversation. You meet Dante. He obviously has some type of, God uses him in some type of way to.
Man, Dante, though. Yeah.
To point you in the direction, or to do whatever God has called him to do. Sometimes as individuals, we have no idea how much of a fingerprint we leave on other people.
Right.
We're just doing what we need to survive.
It might seem normal to you.
It's normal. It's every day.
Yeah, and it's everything
But a word or a conversation or an opportunity that we give someone else could be a huge, massive, opportunity or door opening for them.
Right.
So it sounds like Dante played a role in that.
Definitely.
And you were mentioning to me Hog Mob and everything and Sevin. Tell me about where you are today. What's happening today? What are you excited about? Where do you feel that God uses you the most at the moment as we're speaking?
Kind of like the face of the mob in my city.
Okay.
I try to stay really active in my community, much like I see Melvin do, probably on a larger scale. He's in a bigger city, but I try to be present, a prevalent force of Christ, of help, of concern. Sev placed Sevin, the leader and founder of our ministry, Sevin, started this some 6 years ago.
We're going to be hanging out with him on Friday. We're going to capture his story if God allows that moment to happen. So
I hope you do, man. Amazing man of God. Love him to death. But yeah, so I mean, he's through my faithfulness to the Lord first, of course, but to our ministry as well. He's placed some things in my hands, and the youth group and different devotions and things I've done in videos and music, and so it's been a blessing. And right now it got me on tour with him. I'm going to be part of the 35 city tour that we're doing right now. And his goes beyond. It goes probably into 2025, but I'll cut out in August. I got to get back to my wife, but no, so it's just pounding the pavement, really sharing what God has done, man. He's done an amazing work, because I know, like, ain't nobody got to believe me. I know what my thoughts were. I know how dark of a place I was. I know how quick. I mean, I wasn't a killer when I went to prison, but prison made me to where I know I could really hurt somebody, man. Sure. And I became a bad person, man. And so he took me from that. He took that away from me, man. And there was just a moment, I know I'm going back into prison, but where that holy water, when it hit my brain and my heart, and it was so hardened that it became malleable again. And the Lord was like, nah, I can work with you. Finally, you came home. It was like kind of my prodigal son moment, you know what I'm saying? And he just changed my perspective. And so I say that to say, so no, he's opened the doors for prisons, jails. I'll be going to a few prisons in Kansas in August. I'll be going to Tennessee in September. So he's opened the doors for jails, prisons.
What does that look like? Sorry to interrupt. If we're going to a prison, what does so if you ask me, what does it look like to go to a school, right? I go into, understood. Right. But prison, a little different.
Right, it is.
What does that look like?
Well, obviously once you go through whatever clearance codes you have to in terms of IDs and then actual equipment, from there it's really just connecting, man. Again, I always try to, it'll usually be in a group. If it's in a church, if it's a bigger group, it might be on the yard type setting, but I try to make it inclusive, man. I try to be something that they can see themselves in and relate. And you only got a minute to catch their time.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Because this is their attention span oftentimes isn't that long if you're not saying something that's relevant or pertinent to their situation. So yeah, that's what it takes, man. And we just jump in there and give them the gospel, give them the truth, man. If you come with the truth, it works itself, you know what I'm saying? And so that's what I've been getting into, man. Whether it's schools, prisons, jails, just really kicking down those doors and breaking some barriers and letting people know the truth about sin and the beautiful love and light that we find in Jesus Christ.
In Jesus Christ. And listen, it's such an important work that is needed, and that it's not going anywhere, right? There's a need for people like you, like myself, to stand up and say, hey, we got to go to these places.
Come on.
The word hope needs to come in and spill into these places, and not just in the walls of our churches. I'll tell you this, and I'll close with this. One of my favorite, I would say, not schools, but settings are always the last resort settings, right? So you have kids who got kicked out of school. They're in a smaller setting. They feel like, man, this is, and they're always the hardest rooms to speak to, because, when you first walk in, they're locked in, they're grilling you. And so as a speaker, you got like 3 minutes to make that first impression and to not break character,
Yeah, but I think being from the element that I'm from, I think it's easily identifiable to them to see, you know what I'm saying? And so I kind of come, sometimes I might put a little oomph on it so they can feel like, oh, he okay. And then it flows smooth.
It flows good. Looking back, those were always my favorite engagements, was going to the alternative schools.
I do love what you said, like meeting people when they're really at Hope's End and holding on to that last fray of sanity, you know what I mean? And giving them hope, man.
I think about it, these kids have been kicked out. You're no longer welcome in normal population, right?
Right.
That's already, you're already branded.
And I hate that, because why should they be kicked out when it's a forgiving God? Like, none of us deserve it. But here as humans, he's beyond help.
Right.
Who are we to determine that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's huge what you're doing, and I look forward to seeing all of this continue to unfold.
And you on your journey, man. We talked a little bit earlier, man.
Doubt.
Bless you. This is really cool what you're doing. You have a real light about yourself, a gift about yourself, man. And I send the greatest prayers going in front of you, man, to make it easy, put the wind at your back, and
let's get it,
and allow these doors to open, bro.
I'm ready. Ready to rock.
Yeah, if they want to reach me, want me to come to your school, jail, prison, neighborhood, whatever, any type of speaking, you can reach me once again at officialmc@gmail.com. That's official EMCY@gmail.com.
Love it. We'll make sure to put that up. And
I thank you. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I thank you. Hog Mob thanks you. Man, we love you, bro. Thank you for this platform.
That means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yep.